This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace. You know when you're really stressed or not feeling so great about your life or about yourself? Talking to someone who understands can really help. But who is that person? How do you find them? Where do you even start? Talkspace. Talkspace makes it easy to get the support you need. With Talkspace, you can go online, answer a few questions about your preferences, and be matched with a therapist. And because you'll meet your therapist online, you don't have to take time off work or arrange childcare. You'll meet on your schedule, wherever you feel most at ease. If you're depressed, stressed, struggling with a relationship, or if you want some counseling for you and your partner, or just need a little extra one-on-one support, Talkspace is here for you. Plus, Talkspace works with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. No insurance? No problem. Now get $80 off of your first month with promo code SPACE80 when you go to Talkspace.com. Match with a licensed therapist today at Talkspace.com. Save $80 with code SPACE80 at Talkspace.com.
You're in a good place now. Relax, breathe, smile. You've entered into your element, the home of origin, the home of intelligence and beauty, where relevant topics are discussed, where what you think counts, and where superior is the norm. You are listening to Perspectives with Ashley Burgess.
And, you know, you can expect hazardous travel later today with that, that blizzard thing.
Oh, that blizzard thing. That blizzard thing. Oh, well, here's the report. The National Weather Service is calling for a big blizzard thing.
Yes, they are. But, you know, there's another reason why today is especially exciting.
Especially cold.
Especially cold, yeah. Okay. But the big question on everybody's lips.
Yeah, their chapped lips.
On their chapped lips, right.
Lips.
Do you think Phil's gonna come out and see a shadow?
Punxsutawney Phil.
That's right, woodchuck chuckers. It's Ground Hog Day! Get up and check that hog out there! Yeah! Come here, Ground Hog!
Welcome back live to Perspectives, and I'm your host, Ashley Burgess. On tonight's show, we're talking about a film that's, very dear to my heart. It's called Ground Hog Day. And, we recently celebrated Groundhog Day, and on that night, I decided to watch what? Watch Groundhog Day. And if anybody's seen it or hasn't seen it, it was made in 1993. It was it's a comedy directed by Harold Ramis, starring Bill Murray and Andy McDowell, which is one of my personal favorites, as well as Chris Elliott. And it was written by Harold Ramis and a guy named Danny Rubin. And it's really interesting because Bill Murray, plays Phil Connors, an arrogant Pittsburgh TV weatherman who, during an assignment for his annual pilgrimage to the Groundhog Day event in Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania, finds himself in a time loop, repeating the same day over and over and over again. After he basically indulges in a bunch of hedonism and numerous suicide attempts, he begins to re-examine his life and his real priorities. I thought it was interesting because this film was actually added to the United States National Film Registry back in 2006 because it was deemed culturally, historically, and aesthetically significant. And I thought that was interesting because the film itself, I think, has a lot of components of life. I really think if you watch this film sincerely with the focus of just looking about how life really is, it really does tell a story about life. It really depicts it in such a way that I find uniquely interesting and profound. I know that some films, yes, they talk about life, but certain ones get to your heart. And this particular film, every time I see it, it registers with me. It connects with me. It consciously connects with me in different places of my life that I've been. And I've been the Phil Connors in the beginning that maybe didn't know it all. And I've been the Phil Connors in the middle that was just doing whatever I wanted to do. And then I had a come to Jesus conversation, and I realized it. And I had several of those conversations, and they impacted me in several different ways. And yes, I got it. And my life changed after that because I changed it. Not because I willed it to change, but because I changed it. And I worked my butt off to do what was right and do what's right by me and do what's right by everybody else. Bill, how you doing tonight?
I am doing very wonderful tonight, and I'm hearing you sing the praises of this movie. And of course, Bill Murray, one of the best funny actors of all time. And what I'm about to say is probably not going to surprise you in the least. But this culturally significant movie that's in the Library of Congress and all those awards and all that good stuff, guess what? I haven't seen it.
No crap. Wah, wah. Bill hasn't seen it, but you know what? I kind of knew you probably hadn't seen it. I was going to give you homework to do, but I knew that you don't really have that much time to do homework. I would have given you Cliff Notes,
I
but
don't.
there were no Cliff Notes. So I figured we would kind of just go with
Maybe
this.
just go look up the Wikipedia description, maybe.
Ooh. Let's just see what a good enough story I tell, and maybe
Okay.
that'll help you.
All right.
If I'm a good enough storyteller, you wouldn't have to see the movie. If I'm a good enough storyteller, if you haven't seen the movie, you're going to want to go see the movie.
Okay.
And because this movie really mimics our life. I mean, it mimics my life, and I see parts of it because you and I have been working together for so many years, and I know so much backstory about your life and where you started
Yep.
and the situation you were in. Because I don't know if everybody gets this, but everybody listening tonight realize that Bill actually had a really, really, really successful job.
Yes.
He was doing really, really well. He was financially set.
Yep.
He was dating hot women, going to the theater, doing all this stuff, taking care of life. You know, basically just carousing, you know? And then he decided that it wasn't what he wanted to do in life. He realized he had this epiphany. And, you know, he had to kind of fall a little bit and get depressed and get upset and not be happy until finally everybody around him was like, Bill, dude, come on, man. I mean, you're bringing everybody down. You know what I mean? And he finally decided that he knew what he wanted to do. He always wanted to be in radio. He always wanted to be in sports. And he knew he wanted to do it, but he knew he wanted to be it in a big market. And so he went to that big market. And, you know, he started from scratch. And now, years later, you know, we're working together. And I understand where you're at, but it takes a big person to make a change like that based on the fact of not knowing anything that's going to happen, but knowing that your desire to do that.
Well, and I can tell you, it wasn't easy. It was scary.
It is scary.
Especially at first.
To give up what you know
Yep.
and to move away from what you know
Yep.
and to not know the outcome.
And that was the scariest part because, as we all know, you know, fear is the human being's greatest fear. You know, fear of the unknown, I should say. Which, you know, we've explained that in previous shows. And if I wanted to listen to previous episodes, Ashley, I would go to.
Well, Bill, that's a really good question. You would want to go to Spreaker. Spreaker with an R. Spreaker. No, you're not misspelling it. It's really Spreaker. Speaker with an R. You go put Ashley in there, Ashley, and guess what? You're going to find Perspectives with Ashley Burgess. Click on that. You'll find the library. Or you can do, if you're old school iTunes, and I know I am too sometimes, love iTunes, check out Perspectives on iTunes. Or you can just go straight to the home, AshleyBurgess.com. Makes it easy breezy.
It does not matter how you spell Burgess.
Yeah, you'll find me.
Yep.
You'll find, and if you don't, you're probably misspelling it.
Right.
I'm not hiding from you, okay? I'm not hiding from you. Last time I tried to rent a house to get some extended education done for a degree that I had they told me I needed to put a deposit down. And 2 days later, after I talked to them, I said, okay, is there any way we could half that deposit or whatever? And they were like, no deposit for you. Went online, Googled you. Oh, my gosh, what were you thinking wearing that green dress?
What were you thinking wearing that green dress?
I was like, what green dress? And they were like, went back. They were like, about 9 pages into Google, saw the green dress. I'm like, you went back that far, huh? You went back that far? Because you can keep going page after page after page.
Ashley, answer the question. What were you thinking wearing the green dress?
I made a bonehead move. I bought a dress thinking it was cool. It looked more like a sack. Like a sack with air in it, you know what I mean? Where it was kind of like, it was the style of the time, you know? You had to go back 9 pages to look at that. That was pretty, but they were like, yeah, you don't know what deposit, don't worry about it. We know where you live. So if you're looking for me, you'll find me. If you're not looking for me, well, you might still find me.
Maybe
but anyway,
you should be looking.
Yeah, you should be looking, man, because we're looking for you. We're looking out for you because we do this show to help your life out. And you know what? Honestly, when you listen to Perspectives with Ashley Burgess and you continue to listen to this, you do become happier, healthier, and guess what? Your perspective even grows because you're able to hear things that you relate to. And sometimes we can't always talk to people about how we feel. And this is a place that you can listen as well as you can communicate and reach out to us on Facebook and Twitter and discuss with us with no judgment about how you feel and how you've dealt with situations in your life. And that's what's really so important. So let's get back to this concept of Ground Hog Day. Yes, it's one of my favorite films of all times. And the reason for it is because it's like it begins how we all kind of begin. We're in a situation, and a lot of times we're in a life situation that we feel it could be a lot better.
Right.
Things could be easier. Things could be better. We could be doing bigger, better things.
You want more. You want something more out of life.
More. Yeah. Instead of the 6-inch sub, you want the 12-inch sub.
Right.
You know, instead of the small little car, you want the big sedan. And, you know, the character that Bill Murray plays is Phil Connors. And Phil Connors is a meteorologist, a TV meteorologist in a small market, really, honestly, in Pittsburgh. And he wants to do a big market. He wants to move. And if anybody knows about the TV industry and the radio industry, for that matter, you know, there's smaller markets and there's bigger markets. And you eventually want to move to the bigger market to get more coverage, for more people to know you, and you can keep moving up from there.
And higher salary.
Oh, and definitely more money.
Yeah.
Sure.
So, what are you talking New York here? Is that it? New York or Chicago or something like that?
Yeah, well, yeah, he was kind of talking about that in the beginning.
Okay.
He's like, by the way, a big market's looking at me, you know, and they kind of made fun of him, but he was just kind of saying that, I think, to make himself look a little bigger. But, you know, it is what it is, and sometimes you have to do that to make yourself feel better, especially in this industry sometimes. But overall, a lot of times we're just not happy where we're at, and we kind of take it out on everybody around us. And our attitude is very important in what we're doing in our life. And so, in the beginning of the film, they actually leave Pittsburgh to go to Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania, which is where the Ground Hog Day takes place every year in real life.
Punxsutawney Phil.
Punxsutawney Phil, in real life. This is real life.
I would be remiss in saying that this past Ground Hog Day, Punxsutawney Phil saw his shadow.
Six more weeks of winter.
So, yeah, not good news, though, for you folks in the Midwest and the East Coast, because you guys have been just pounded
I know.
with the winter weather lately.
God bless them.
You know, it's like, darn this global warming, you know. Right?
Yeah, blizzard, the big blizzard thing.
It's like, what global warming?
I know.
But yeah, so
it's getting colder.
The last thing those folks need is 6 more months of winter. But, you know, according to Punxsutawney Phil, you're going to get it, like it or not.
Poor guy, man. He saw his shadow. I mean, what if we woke up every morning and saw our shadow? What would that mean?
It means we're sleeping under a bridge, so it wouldn't be good.
That would not be good. Yeah, that, or I don't know what that would mean. I guess it would mean 6 more months of winter, though, right? I don't know. Maybe
we're not groundhogs.
Maybe it would mean that I won the lottery if I saw my shadow.
Okay.
Oh, no.
That's a stretch.
Ashley and her gambling. Oh, the gambling. You caught me today. I can't believe you gambled.
I did not know that you did the lottery.
I occasionally do it. It's not every day, and it's not every week, but I occasionally do it. I need to probably just have my numbers always, but then you wonder, you know, it's all timing, and maybe trying to see if your numbers are going to win. Maybe you just have to take what they give you, you know? And sometimes they even give me the wrong ticket. Like, I'll ask for lottery, and they'll give me Powerball, right? And I'll be like, well, I don't want to argue with it, because what if that was the winning Powerball number, and I sent it away, okay? Because that could be just fate right then and there. Anyway, when we return, we're going to be talking more about Groundhog Day and how this film and its concept actually relates to your life. Stay tuned, because Perspectives with your host, me, Ashley Burke.
This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace. You know when you're really stressed or not feeling so great about your life or about yourself? Talking to someone who understands can really help. But who is that person? How do you find them? Where do you even start? Talkspace. Talkspace makes it easy to get the support you need. With Talkspace, you can go online, answer a few questions about your preferences, and be matched with a therapist. And because you'll meet your therapist online, you don't have to take time off work or arrange childcare. You'll meet on your schedule, wherever you feel most at ease. If you're depressed, stressed, struggling with a relationship, or if you want some counseling for you and your partner, or just need a little extra one-on-one support, Talkspace is here for you. Plus, Talkspace works with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. No insurance? No problem. Now get $80 off of your first month with promo code SPACE80 when you go to Talkspace.com. Match with a licensed therapist today at Talkspace.com. Save $80 with code SPACE80 at Talkspace.com.
We'll be back in 2 shakes.
Turn it up and jump in the deep end on Perspectives with Ashley Burgess. The water's warm and there's a swim-up bar. Glass of perspective, anyone? Now, here's Ashley.
Welcome back live to Perspectives, and I'm your host, Ashley Burgess. Tonight's show, we're discussing a film that's near and dear to my heart. You know, one of those films that really, you know, you watch it a lot, you've seen it a lot, but every time there's a certain part that just brings a tear to your eye. This film is Groundhog Day. I recently saw Groundhog Day on Groundhog Day. You know, it's just one of those things, you know? I mean, you watch, you know, Christmas Vacation on Christmas vacation time, you watch Groundhog Day on Groundhog Day. And this film is very interesting because to me it really accents and accentuates what really life is about. And the main character is Phil Connors, played by Bill Murray. And he actually kind of goes through a whole concept of just being this big narcissistic meteorologist guy that's all about self, all centered in self. And he goes through all the process of his game not working eventually. Like, he keeps trying to get what he wants without changing, without getting better, trying to push his agenda, trying to manipulate everybody in his path, trying to talk people down, trying to put people down, have people do what he wants them to do, basically be their minions, whatever, in that situation. And eventually that doesn't work. And he keeps hitting a brick wall. And after he keeps hitting that brick wall over and over again, guess what? He gets tired of it. And over a period of time, yes, he kills himself, murder, all kinds of stuff. And eventually he wakes up and has this epiphany. And I think all of us, to some degree, has had that wake-up call. Whether or not we've agreed to it and actually gotten up and accepted it is one thing. Some of us have had several wake-up calls. But a lot of us have been lucky enough, everybody listening tonight, to still be around. Bill, I was talking earlier about this concept of this film. And I think the first thing we want to talk about is in the very beginning of the film, when they go to deal with the Groundhog situation, they go to Punxsutawney. And they go to Punxsutawney to do the Groundhog Day. And they drive out there. And it's really funny because Chris Elliott is the guy that's driving the news van. And he's also, he rolls the tape and he does all that stuff. And so Chris Elliott is sitting in the front seat. And you got Andie MacDowell. She's sitting in the back seat. Bill Murray.
I'm sorry. Whoa. Back up. Who's the female?
Andie MacDowell.
Andie MacDowell.
Oh.
Now I really want to see this movie.
Oh, you like her?
Andie MacDowell.
She used to be a model. You know that.
Oh,
right?
yes, I do.
Back in the day, right?
Andie MacDowell is hot.
Hot to trot.
Yes, she is. So
she is hot.
I think I'll see this movie just for her.
Yeah, she's pretty good looking. I like her. She's good looking. Yeah, she's got a lot on the ball. I mean, like, she's always really, really smart.
Okay,
and I like her
okay. Those of us who are perverts will take that last statement a few different ways. This is a family show.
Oh man!
Just remember that.
I didn't even think about that, but yes, that was pretty funny, Ashley. Good job. Pat on the back, Ashley. Pat on the back. In the very beginning, though, Bill Murray's character actually says that he's the talent. He calls himself the talent. And he goes, I'm not staying at that Fleabag hotel. I hate that hotel. And Andie MacDowell's character says, no, you're not staying there. I have you in this nice little bed and breakfast off of Cherry Street. And he goes, wow, you really know how to treat the talent. You know how to take care of us. And it's funny.
And he said, did he say it like real condescending? Like, it's like, wow, you really know how to treat the talent.
He actually was saying it almost just in realistic terms, like, you know how to treat the talent because he's the talent. Like, he thinks he's all that. And so everybody, Chris Elliott's like, did he really just call himself the talent? Did he just call himself the talent? And they kind of snicker, and Andy and Chris Elliott kind of snicker.
Gotcha.
Because he did call himself the talent.
Yeah.
Because he thinks he's all that. He's so narcissistic. He doesn't even hear what they're saying. He's going to the special hotel, that's better than all the other places. So he gets in there, and it's funny because he's staying somewhere else. And I think that this is suitable to talk about narcissism. I think it's also suitable to say that the ego likes to separate us. The ego separates us all the time. In this situation, his ego is so big, it can't even get in the van because he is the talent. And how many of us listening tonight know that a lot of our friends find themselves as the talent? They're better than us. They're better than the world. They might not be better than us, but they're better than anybody else they find. They're better than the city. They're better than the state. I have friends that are like, I hate this state. I hate living here. Like, well, why do you hate living
pack
here?
Up and go someplace else.
Yeah, go somewhere else. Go to a communistic country.
Or, move to another state that is more to your liking. Regardless of why you dislike it, weather-wise or maybe, politically wise or demographic wise or just any other reason, go find, this is a big country and it's pretty diverse. Go find yourself someplace that's more to your liking.
The problem is that the reason why they don't like the state is not based on the fact that it's any of those things. It's normally based on the fact that they're just unhappy because they're always separating themselves. The ego's always saying.
I see. Okay.
The ego's always saying.
This just happens to be an excuse.
Yeah.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah, like, how people always say, well, if I moved, I'd be better. I mean, now you have to understand from my perspective, I am a therapist and I'm also a life coach. So, I'm I'm not only the president, but I'm also a client. No, honestly, I am a therapist.
And she sweeps out the place.
And I sweep, and I mow the lawn, too.
Yes, you do.
With a little mask, though, because I get a little allergic to grass sometimes. So anyway, no, but, I have a lot of clients in the very beginning that see me and talk about they want to move. I want to move. I hate it here. I want to move. And I said, what's so bad about here that's going to be different than there? And they normally kind of go, oh, well, people will be different, and it's going to be a different scenario, and they're not going to be so uppity. And I go, how do you know that? And a lot of times the places they want to move, I've spent a lot of time. And I can't sit there and put words in their mouth, but I go, how can you, and normally those places might even be even more uppity, even more different. And I go, how can you expect to like that place if you can't deal with where you are now? Because you're just running from it. You're running from the problem. Like all these people are not all the same. Yes, there are jerks out there.
No kidding.
I love Seinfeld.
What an epiphany.
I love Seinfeld. It's like the jerk store called and they're running out of you. I love that. You're their number one best-selling item, But yeah, there are jerks. But you know what? There's jerks everywhere. There's not just one place where it's jerk-free. Like they don't have like a sign when you enter Seattle that says Seattle jerk-free. They don't have it. No, it doesn't exist. There are jerks everywhere, no matter where you go. Oklahoma. There's probably going to be some jerks there, too, okay? Just going to tell you. Jersey, probably so, okay?
Probably so.
California, probably so.
Even San Francisco.
Probably so. And I love San Francisco.
As hard as that is to believe.
And I love Monterey, California. I love San Francisco. I love that whole area. But, yeah, there's probably maybe some jerks there.
One or two.
Yeah, one or two. But it's funny how people make these generalizations. Everybody in this place thinks this way. And it's like, well, I don't think that way. And I have a lot of friends that don't think that way, or we probably wouldn't be friends as far as close friends. I mean, we might be, just say hi to each other in the street or oh, yeah, good job. But no, I know a lot of people that don't feel that way. And so a lot of times when we get in this bubble of our ego separateness from everybody else, we always think that everybody else is out to get us or they're not at the same level as we are. And that separation by the ego really produces us to be upset. It produces us to be angry. It shows us, it basically puts us in this funk of, man, I don't have anybody to talk to. And it's just so untrue because the ego wants you to feel alone. And a lot of times people think that the ego is like this boasting, bragging thing. I'm so good. I'm all that. And it's really not that way. Sometimes it can be narcissistic in a way. But on the other side, some people's ego actually is very harmful and detrimental almost.
Right. And, Ashley, you mentioned earlier that, we're sure that our listeners either know somebody or have gone through these things themselves. So we're live in blogging tonight on Facebook and Twitter, and we'd love to hear your experiences with this, whether you've done it yourself or someone who has. Please share your experiences with us. But yeah, I mean, you've done previous shows, about the ego and how, the ego tries to make you think that it's kind of like you being your own god in your own mini universe.
Or your own small minion.
Yeah.
In a big universe.
Everything else is just, exists just to revolve around you.
Or the opposite.
Okay. Yeah. Or just the opposite. And I think if you get caught up in that mindset, then you are really setting yourself up for some big trouble.
And people like that, people that
absolutely,
they're bigger than the universe. And then you have the other side.
A certain coworker of mine, you know who I'm talking about.
And then you have the other side. Oh yeah, and then you have the other side, which the ego can separate you in the fact that it can tell you that you're not good enough. You're never going to live up to it. All these other people are so much more beautiful, more fun, more smarter than you. And I've seen clients and friends that literally almost can't get out of bed because they don't think they're good enough to get out of bed. When we return, we're going to be talking more about how Ground Hog Day actually really kind of just shows you a lot about life and how you can connect with this film and get to know a little bit more about yourself. So stay tuned because Perspectives with your host, me, Ashley Burgess, will be back in 2 shakes.
This is Jake Busey, and you're listening to
This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace. When you're really stressed or not feeling so great about your life or about yourself, talking to someone who understands can really help. But who is that person? How do you find them? Where do you even start? Talkspace. Talkspace makes it easy to get the support you need. With Talkspace, you can go online, answer a few questions about your preferences, and be matched with a therapist. And because you'll meet your therapist online, you don't have to take time off work or arrange childcare. You'll meet on your schedule, wherever you feel most at ease. If you're depressed, stressed, struggling with a relationship, or if you want some counseling for you and your partner, or just need a little extra one-on-one support, Talkspace is here for you. Plus, Talkspace works with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. No insurance? No problem. Now get $80 off of your first month with promo code SPACE80 when you go to Talkspace.com. Match with a licensed therapist today at Talkspace.com. Save $80 with code SPACE80 at Talkspace.com.
Perspectives with Ashley Burgess.
This is pitiful. 1,000 people freezing their butts off waiting to worship a rat. What a hype. Groundhog Day used to mean something in this town. They used to pull the hog out and they used to eat it. You're hypocrites, all of you. You got a problem with what I'm saying, Larry? Untie your tongue and you come out here and talk, huh? Am I upsetting you, Princess? You know, you want a prediction about the weather. You're asking the wrong Phil. I'll give you a winter prediction. It's going to be cold. It's going to be gray. And it's going to last you for the rest of your life.
Welcome back live to Perspectives, and I'm your host, Ashley Burgess. Tonight we're talking about how a certain film mimics life, or how we mimic a certain film.
What would that certain film be called?
Groundhog Day.
Now, I have to make a admission to you, Ashley, because as you know, I don't watch a whole lot of movies. Although I think I surprised you last week because I've actually seen 2 movies in theaters in like the past 3 weeks. I think
amazing.
You just about fainted on me, I think.
And see, I haven't seen any recent films.
I know, yeah. So, where we're going with that. But see,
what's up with our timing, man?
But when you mentioned groundhogs, coming out of the ground and Bill Murray, see, I thought you meant Caddyshack.
That's all right. Nobody worry about me.
Yeah. See, I thought you meant Caddyshack, but no, this is Groundhog Day where this is like made, what, 1990 some odd or whatever?
I don't remember. To me, it's very timeless.
So it doesn't really matter. Okay.
Yeah, to me, it doesn't matter. It's very timeless. I mean, I know it got some award in like 2006, 2008 for its kind of authenticity, for its dynamic storytelling. But I think it's because it mimics a lot about life, and people got a lot of meaning from it. And I know that there's been books written by several different authors describing the impact of this film on spirituality, on the conscious mind, on the subconscious mind, which I think is very interesting. And I don't have those names off on the top of my head, but I might come up with that before the next segment. But we were talking about, before the break, we were talking about how the ego separates us. And it has a tendency to trying to separate us from everybody, whether it's I'm awesome and the ego is telling you how awesome and how amazing you are and how everybody else is just crap and they're beneath you and they're smaller and you shouldn't waste your time. Or the other side of the ego could be saying you're not worthy, you're not good enough, you stand out like a sore thumb, don't do it, it'll only hurt you. If you go and hang out with them, it's only going to ruin you. Whatever these stories and these things that your ego is telling you, we start to believe is true. And one of the biggest things that the ego does is it separates us from other people, making us feel as though we're not similar. We have nothing in common. They are not our friends. And in this film, Phil Connors is Bill Murray plays Phil Connors. This TV meteorologist, and he comes into contact with a news producer, which is Rita, which is Andy McDowell, and
who is very hot.
Which Bill is in yes.
My heart is going boom, 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 boom.
It's like out of your chest, like those cartoons. Remember that? Those cartoons where the heart rate, boom, 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 boom. Like a little, it'd be like a little dog or cat. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like Roger Rabbit.
Roger Rabbit.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I love that show. Roger Rabbit.
Or Jim Carrey in The Mask.
Oh,
remember that one?
I love Jim Carrey. That is an interview that we have to do. Jim Carrey recently on his work in the last 2 years is really, I get it. It's real conscious. It's real deep. Yeah. I like it, man. He's really put himself out there, and I think for the good. We'll have to get him on the show.
Okay.
Gosh, remember that. Okay, check. Jim
yeah,
Carrey.
put that on the list.
I'm writing this down. Hold on.
Put that on the list.
Jim Carrey on show. Okay. So they also have a cameraman named named Larry, and that's Chris Elliott. And they're actually heading to Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania to cover the annual Ground Hog Day festivities. And it's interesting because they go to bed and they wake up and they basically do the report. And Phil, Bill Murray, goes out there and does the whole little news interview thing where you have Punxsutawney Phil being pulled out of his little area, and they said, okay, he saw his shadow, and he does his news report, and he does it in a cocky way with an attitude. It's not that personable. It's not at all heartwarming. It looked like he had been, held there on gunfire and had to do that. And so they're heading back. They're heading back to the film where they actually live, and there's a big blizzard, and so they're forced to stay in Punxsutawney and stay another night, which is not at all what Phil wanted to do.
Because Punxsutawney is a really small town. It's like one of those picturesque towns that you see, in the Pennsylvania countryside.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Like a place that you have like small little like stores for chocolates, or everybody knows everybody's name.
Right.
And there's like a little like country club thing where everybody hangs out at. And it's tiny, and there's like a hotel, like the Hotel Roosevelt or something like that.
So for a guy who thinks he's all that in a bag of chips, and everything is beneath him, not the town he wants to get stuck at.
All that in a Rolex.
Yeah, exactly.
His jacket in this film though is amazing. He wears the same coat throughout the whole film because what happens is, and let me get into that real quick. So what happens is they do that, they stay another night, and Phil wakes up and finds himself again on the same day. Okay, so he wakes up, and this day plays out exactly as it did before. But unfortunately, Phil is unaware of the fact that there's a time loop. So he's reliving the same day, but he thinks there's just something wrong, like he must be sick or something happened. And he's not really getting what's going on. And that's what's so funny about it. And he has to relive this day, not just once, but over and over and over again to try to get the point, because he's not getting the point of why he's reliving the day. So let's talk about the concept of confusion. Okay.
a state in which I live in constantly. I can relate.
Constant confusion, the C-squared state of mind.
There you go.
Confusion is interesting because a lot of times confusion comes from what? We don't have enough information. We don't understand something. We don't understand the reason for it. We're confused. There seems to be little logic. Or we don't understand why things are happening this way. And as Phil relives Groundhog Day over and over and over again, at the very beginning he's very confused. Like he just doesn't understand it. But then that confusion turns into depression because he can't change it. And no matter how much force he's willing to push, that force will not open to the following day. And I think a lot of us have been in this confusion state where we're still playing with the same rules. It's like doing the same thing and expecting different results. That's called insanity.
Einstein's definition of insanity. Yep.
And all of us have done that, where you're punching a brick wall at 1,000,000 miles an hour. And guess what? It's not moving.
Or banging your head against that brick wall.
It hurts.
It does hurt.
It does hurt. I've done that before. You hit your head, bam.
It's like, oh yeah, I'll show you, bang.
Oh, somebody take me to the emergency room.
Yeah, expecting sympathy for it. Nope.
Or you take your phone and you chunk it. When you get off a bad phone call and you chunk it and it breaks, you're like, oh, crap, I broke my own phone.
Now, that I have not done, but I can see you doing that.
I used to when I was more of a hothead. People used to call me a hothead back in the day. I'm not really a hothead at all anymore. You know me. I'm pretty much, not like a hothead.
You have turned a corner.
Yeah, I have, really. I mean, like 90 degrees almost, But, yeah, I used to be a hothead, have a little road rage here and there, It was just part of life.
Yeah.
But you know what? In being a hothead and having that road rage, guess what? Those, again, are two things that I did that, guess what? Never got me what I wanted. In no time ever did having road rage and getting out of the car and yelling and screaming at somebody ever produce anything of goodness. Okay? It just didn't. It caused a lot of stress and strain. It caused my heart rate to go up. It caused me to be in some really not so good situations, and lucky I'm alive, okay? But in the same point in time, we've all done that and expected different results, and that's where kind of confusion lies, is because we can't step back, stop, and reevaluate what's happening. And that's the key here that I'd like to talk about, because Phil is doing exactly that. He keeps running into that brick wall with his same game and his same concept, and he's not getting anywhere. And that's part of the show, is that it shows you that sometimes we have to change our perspective. We have to see things differently and realize that in his case, he's not the center of the universe, and everything he does is not golden. That's the key, is that, his poop is not golden nuggets, and he thinks he's all that. So, he goes through the situation, and he lives through these days, and eventually he realizes it's not going to change. And so he has this desperation where he feels like he just has to end his life. And I know that a lot of people listening haven't been in that situation. Some people have. And thank God you're listening. But at the same point in time, most of us wake up and realize that's not going to do us any good. We've got to figure out why it's not working and try to figure out another way of going about it. So when we return, we're going to be talking more about the confusion stance, but also about how we make our choices and we live with them. So stay tuned, because Perspectives with your host, me, Ashley Burgess, will be back in 2 shakes.
I can lift you up. I can show you what you want to see and take you where you want to be.
Get in here.
This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace. You know when you're really stressed or not feeling so great about your life or about yourself? Talking to someone who understands can really help. But who is that person? How do you find them? Where do you even start? Talkspace. Talkspace makes it easy to get the support you need. With Talkspace, you can go online, answer a few questions about your preferences, and be matched with a therapist. And because you'll meet your therapist online, you don't have to take time off work or arrange childcare. You'll meet on your schedule, wherever you feel most at ease. If you're depressed, stressed, struggling with a relationship, or if you want some counseling for you and your partner, or just need a little extra one-on-one support, Talkspace is here for you. Plus, Talkspace works with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. No insurance? No problem. Now get $80 off of your first month with promo code SPACE80 when you go to Talkspace.com. Match with a licensed therapist today at Talkspace.com. Save $80 with code SPACE80 at Talkspace.com.
And give us your perspective. We're listening. You're listening to Perspectives with Ashley Burgess.
He's not afraid to cry in front of me.
This is a man we're talking about, right?
He likes animals and children, and he'll change poopy diapers.
Does he have to use the word poopy?
Welcome back live to Perspectives, and I'm your host, Ashley Burgess. Tonight we're talking about a film that's near and dear to my heart. Ground Hog Day. Yes, I love Ground Hog Day with Bill Murray. Anybody that's seen it knows what I'm talking about. It really speaks to the human condition, about how we can be in one place and it's not working. But it might have worked for us for a little while, but it's not getting us where we need to go. And we realize that old game and old habits just don't seem to change it for us. And we end up having a low point. Some people call it rock bottom. Some people do call it rock bottom. And eventually we wake up to the fact that we have a come to Jesus conversation. And we realize that there's more to life than meets the eye. We realize that there's a lot to be said about the things that we don't see. And we realize that in order to be happy, there's certain things about being a good person. To be honestly happy. To do the right thing. To be authentic. And that's what this film was really about. And it begins with Bill Murray's character. He's a narcissistic meteorologist in a small market. And he is so used to being that big fish in that small pond that he's used to getting away with murder. Treating people like crap. Being rude. And he gets his way.
I've known people like that.
You do?
Yep.
Me too.
Well, I mean, because as you know, I started out in the radio business about 6 years ago, but also at the same time got a part-time job at a local TV station.
Oh, that's right.
As a camera operator. Eventually, I got promoted up to studio manager. And the assistant meteorologist that we had there fits this description to a T, only that he's a young guy. He was just starting out in the business. It was basically his first job out of meteorology school. But he thought that he was the greatest thing since sliced bread, and treated the rest of us, especially the crew, like we're crumbs. And and also the problem was that he wasn't quite as good as he thought he was, because he ended up making mistakes.
Really?
And
what kind of mistakes?
Well, like he'd forget to change a graphic, or point to the wrong town or something like that. Just being careless, really. And but if any one of us dared to point it out to him, I mean, it's like, you don't tell me, my job. I went to, the 6 years of meteorology school, blah, 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 blah.
Tell meteorologists how to tell the weather.
It's just like, okay, dude, it's you're the ones looking like the moron here.
Moron meteorologist,
yeah.
M squared.
Which, I think, meteorology is one of those jobs where you have to go to school for a while, and you really have to earn it. I mean, and so I've always thought it's kind of like being a lawyer or being a doctor. It's specialized training in a field that not a lot of people know about, and you have to work for it. You have to earn it, and so therefore, I do think it tends to attract its share of narcissistic people.
I can see that.
So
I can see that.
Yeah.
I mean, and I think a lot of times too, people have a tendency of running through life, and maybe that meteorologist, I guess he wasn't a friend of yours, being that he treated you like crumbs. But yes, people run through life a lot of times. They don't really think about other people's feelings. They don't think about anything besides themselves sometimes. And it's funny because in the film, Bill Murray's character actually runs into an old friend of his from high school named Ned Ryerson. And Ned Ryerson is a very loud gentleman that he used to go to high school with that was like, hey, oh my gosh, Phil Connors, you know who I am? And he's like, who? And he goes, you know who I am? And he starts giving him like little, I used to do this in a high school play. I did this for the talent show. I used to date your sister Mary Beth until you told me I couldn't anymore. And he's like, my name's Ned Ryerson. He's like, Ned, what's up, Needle Nose? And
Needle Nose. That's funny.
Because he said he did Needle Nose Ned. And he's like, I'm Ned the Bull now. I just go after it. He goes, what do you do? He goes, you wouldn't believe it. I sell life insurance. And I bet you don't have any. Am I right? And when he's trying to run from Ned, he goes literally off the curb and into the street, and it's just literally a pothole filled with it's very cold at this time of year, being that it's Ground Hog Day in Punxsutawney, and it's just ice and water, and he just goes right into it with his shoe and his leg, and he's like, and there's Ned over there going, watch out, the first step's a doozy. And he's like, oh, jeez. And it's like running through life. It's like he's just running through it. There's no emotion. It's all about what he can win, what girl he can get, what situation he can get. He runs past the homeless man like the homeless man's got leprosy or a taser or something. He runs past him fast as he can. And I think it's interesting. He starts to get a little belligerent and a little edgy when he realizes that he can't seem to change the day. And he ends up meeting some guys at a bowling alley, and he asks them, he goes, how would you feel if it didn't matter what you do every day, and every day was just the same, and you ended up the same place in the same day every day of your life? And this one guy goes, that's about what my life's like. And, he works in the coal mines or whatever, and he's out there. And so he ends up taking them driving afterwards because they're both drunk. And he drives them, and they're going to go get some flapjacks or whatever. And he ends up rolling over the railroad tracks and just taking off.
Really?
And runs into, like, the post boxes and takes them right out of the ground and just keeps on going. And they're like, if we wanted to run over that, so-and-so could have driven because they were tanked.
Right.
And the cops get behind him, and when they finally pull him over, he literally rolls down the window, and they got the flashlights in his face, and he goes, is it too late for flapjacks?
No, so this is not Phil you're talking about. This is the...
Oh, this is Bill Murray.
This is Bill Murray's character. Okay,
and he's just driving over all kinds... Because he's reckless. At this point in time, he doesn't care because nothing's changing. The day hasn't changed. Every single day he wakes up, it's the same thing. It's the same day. So now he's wanting to test out and see, do things change if he basically breaks the law? And so he ends up going to jail. All three of them going to jail. He wakes up the next morning at 6 a.m., back in his bed, back at the bed and breakfast, and nothing's changed. And now that's when things start getting reckless because he realizes he can do whatever he wants and there's no consequences. And that's what I'd like to talk about now is how we make our choices and we live with them. We make our choices in life, and we have to live with them.
Yeah, those of us who live in the real world, there are consequences for every action. Now, there's good consequences and there's bad consequences, kind of a karma concept. But if you choose to do something that, maybe has a negative effect or something that's narcissistic or something like that, break a law, break a rule, whatever, then it's eventually going to turn around on you, and not in a good way.
It's true, and that's what's so important about how we make our choices and we live with them. Just like people say, you made your bed, now you lie in it. And a lot of times, in situations in our life, we don't really look at the cause reason for why it happens. We sit there and say, oh, the world has pushed us toward us, or people have been oppressing us, or these people caused me to be unhappy or upset or angry, or they've forced their power upon me. But if we really sit back and look at the cause reason for why things happen a lot of times, it's because we made these choices. We made certain choices that we have to live with. And I've done it before. I've done it where I made a real bonehead choice, like a real dumb choice.
No, not you, Ashley.
Never me.
Yeah, no, not you.
Not sweet me.
No.
Bonehead choice?
Whatever.
I've made some bonehead choices in my life. And I think anybody that's consciously living can sit there and say, man, there were a few years where every single day was a bonehead choice. Bill's over here nodding right now.
Yep.
And we have to live with them, though. That's the key. And that there's some choices we make are awesome. And some choices we don't even know why we make them. And when we begin to live really consciously, we sometimes wonder why we make certain choices. But it's all based on timing. It's based on our reality. And it's based on what's best for us. And sometimes we have to make certain choices that don't seem fun. They don't seem easy. And sometimes it seems like we have to leave some of our old school friends to make these choices. But if you look at the flip side and you make choices that cause great pain or cause strife or put you in jail, like in this situation, that's something you have to live with. Now, he's going to keep going on this time loop, but he's going to kill himself. He's going to stab himself. He's going to drown himself. I mean, he brings the toaster into the bathtub at one time.
Oh, no.
And drops it in plugged in. Oh, yeah, drops it in plugged in.
It was shocking.
And all the lights go off in a nice bed and breakfast while people are downstairs eating their breakfast.
Wow.
He just unplugs it from the buffet counter, brings it up to the bathtub, and throws it in. I mean, there is something more than just death. There's a reason for our living here. And we return to be talking more about that, as well as we're going to start talking about how sometimes we fight the inevitable. Why? Perspectives with your host, me, Ashley Burgess, will be back in 2 shakes.
This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace. When you're really stressed or not feeling so great about your life or about yourself, talking to someone who understands can really help. But who is that person? How do you find them? Where do you even start? Talkspace. Talkspace makes it easy to get the support you need. With Talkspace, you can go online, answer a few questions about your preferences, and be matched with a therapist. And because you'll meet your therapist online, you don't have to take time off work or arrange childcare. You'll meet on your schedule, wherever you feel most at ease. If you're depressed, stressed, struggling with a relationship, or if you want some counseling for you and your partner, or just need a little extra one-on-one support, Talkspace is here for you. Plus, Talkspace works with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. No insurance? No problem. Now get $80 off of your first month with promo code SPACE80 when you go to Talkspace.com. Match with a licensed therapist today at Talkspace.com. Save $80 with code SPACE80 at Talkspace.com.
You're in a good place now. Relax, breathe, smile. You've entered into your element, the home of origin, the home of intelligence and beauty, where relevant topics are discussed, where what you think counts, and where superior is the norm. You are listening to Perspectives with Ashley Burgess.
Welcome back live to Perspectives, and I'm your host, Ashley Burgess. Tonight's show, we're talking about a film that I love, Ground Hog Day, with Bill Murray. One of my favorite films of all times. And it was interesting, when we were on the break, I decided to do a little background check on the film outside of my realm of knowledge on it. And it's been considered a tale of self-improvement, which emphasizes the need to look inside oneself and realize that the only satisfaction in life comes from turning outward and concerning oneself with others, rather than only concentrating solely on our own wants and desires. The phrase also has become a shorthand illustration for the concept of spiritual transcendence. As such, the film has become a favorite of Buddhists because they see its themes of selflessness and rebirth as a reflection of their own spiritual messages.
Now, are you reading this off Wikipedia?
Off of Wikipedia.
Okay. So this is the Cliff Notes version.
Cliff Notes version.
Gotcha.
It has also, in the Catholic tradition, been seen as a representation of purgatory. It has even been dubbed by some religious leaders as the most spiritual film of our time. And I think that's very interesting because I felt that way immediately. I didn't have to read Wikipedia to figure that out, but I'm glad.
It didn't have to do that, but as long as it's there.
It's there, you know? I mean, that's great. And for people to have said that much about it, it definitely has to represent something. And I feel it every time I see that film, especially the part where Bill Murray's character finally comes to terms, has a little bit of a wake-up call. And in the wake-up call, he helps a homeless man. And that part, that brings a tear to my eye each time. And in the very first time he helps a man, he just gives him a wad of cash. And that's not what brings a tear to my eyes. But the time that he helps him is when he brings him to this hospital, and the man dies. He dies in the hospital. And the woman comes out to the waiting room and says, did you bring the old man in? And he said, yeah. And she goes, well, he died. He goes, what do you mean he died? He's not supposed to die. Not today. He's not going to die today. And she goes, he died. He goes, from what? And she goes, he's just old. He's just old. And he's like, nobody's dying today. And he goes in there and looks at the chart, and then he redoes this day over and over again. And he gets to know the man. And he actually goes outside of himself to help this man selflessly. And this is the turning point. This is the turning point of Phil Connor's life right here. And it brings a tear to my eye. And it brings also a thought process of how we make our choices and we live with them. And he begins to make choices that are selfless. Choices to help another person. Which actually, guess what it actually did is it helped him. Because it put everything in perspective. Instead of Phil being the center of his universe, and all about Phil, and his whole life is that, and how awful it is that he's having to live this life over, and this day over, and over, and over again. Instead, he sees somebody that's suffering, and he goes and helps them. And it changes the whole
But for the
dynamic.
first time in his life, probably,
Yes.
he thinks about somebody besides himself. And yeah, so, of course, now you've seen the movie before. And I haven't, but I've heard the cultural references to it. Every time I've heard the context of it mentioned and whatever, it's always in reference to like deja vu. Like if somebody is done something and they know they're about to do it again, well, it's just it's like Groundhog Day, and you know the reference. You're repeating the same day over and over and over.
And you hear that a lot, right?
Yeah, it's just kind of part of the lexicon now.
It's funny.
Yeah,
because it really is, and just a sidebar, just, how I like to bring up, like, trivia. Because I think
do you really?
You know me, trivia.
Yeah.
Like, things that people don't really know. So, Groundhog Day was written by Ramis and by Danny Rubin. And the actual real ending of this film was changed.
Oh, yeah. Really?
Yeah. So I saw a whole documentary deal on it years and years ago. So Danny Rubin wrote it. He really wrote most of it. And Harold Ramis carried it out as far as direction and what have you, too. But he helped write it. But when I saw an interview with Danny years ago, he was talking about how, the ending was actually where Bill Murray's character, once he ends up getting with the apparent love of his life, Andie MacDowell, it ends his time loop, but it starts hers.
Oh, really?
So that was the real ending.
That was going to be the original ending. Was that she's going to go through her own
time loop? So he would be in love, and she wouldn't even know it.
Interesting.
And so Harold Ramis actually stepped in and said, "We cannot end the film that way. It has to have some sort of definition where it actually works out."
Yeah, I mean, a movie's supposed to, a good happy ending. They live happily ever after. It's all resolved. The end.
Yes.
They were off into the sunset together.
More movies now recently tend to not do that at all. I heard some people that were really angry about Gone Girl. I mean, like angry, like mad, like vengeful mad because they had gone to see it. But no, you're right. I mean, a good movie. I mean, I think a lot of people listening tonight, including myself, we have stress in our life.
No kidding.
Right, Bill? You know what I'm talking about. I don't really like to add more stress to my life.
No.
And I like a happy ending.
Because you go to a movie to escape from reality for a couple hours.
And you know what? I think it's funny, too, because a lot of people think that we're put on this world to get our butts kicked.
No.
But you know what? We're put here to succeed.
Right.
There's no question in my mind about that. And with that in mind, a happy ending is the way that all of us are going to have. We're all going to have happy endings, and I'm not talking about anything else but a happy ending of our life. Some people might have gotten a different connotation from what I just said. However, and I actually thought about it myself.
I wasn't going to say
happy
anything.
Happy endings for everybody. Happy endings for you. Happy endings for me.
And this is a family show, so you know.
I get a happy ending. You get a happy. I mean, you get a happy meal. I get a happy. Okay. However,
moving right along.
We'll move along. So yeah, so that's the key here. And so a lot of times it's nice to see normal reality happen. Things happen. Guy wakes up, has the come to Jesus conversation, realizes there's more to himself than this narcissistic person. He starts helping someone else, and then realizes that you know what? To live is to learn, and he starts to learn. And it's like right when he stops fighting the inevitable is when this works for him. He stops fighting what the reality is. And that's what I think is so cool, is that I was a kid when I was younger. I fought the system. I fought the law and the law won.
I fought the law and the law won.
I fought the law and yeah, so I did. And yeah, I'm here to tell the tale that yeah, they normally win. And the thing is that life is like that. But sometimes you can keep fighting and keep losing it. And I have friends that I used to hang out with that did that until I finally said, okay, yeah, your karma's gonna eventually come to me. I love you, but I can't be around you. I wouldn't stand next to you in a crowd. Not that close, at least. Not within certain gun. Anyway, not within that close. So I think that sometimes people just fight the inevitable, and it's like fighting yourself, because I think at the core of everybody is this true, authentic self. This person that is very altruistic, that is selfless, that realizes the big picture. Subconsciously, we all realize the big picture. Sometimes we just don't want to look at it. That's what I'm talking about. That's why we sometimes fight the inevitable. We fight being ourselves. Because like when I was younger, I used to project myself as this real tough, like kind of almost like FBI policewoman type attitude.
You were like a chihuahua.
I am not a chihuahua.
You were like one. I bet you were like one. I mean, you're like, you're not really
something else.
You're not very big physically, in big
maybe
stature.
Like a papillon.
But you know how chihuahuas, they're really small, but they bark really aggressively.
What about a papillon?
No.
What about a tiger kitten?
Because you have cute eyes like a chihuahua does.
Oh, you cute Taco Bell?
Here, do the sad eyes. There you go. That's why. See, you fit the teeth.
You quiero Taco Bell. Remember that when the little Taco Bell guy would have
quiero Taco Bell.
And he would,
yeah.
Okay, in that respect, possibly. Maybe you won me on that one. You had the.
But yeah, so you were you decided to be aggressive. In other words, you decided to get them before they got you, even if their intention
or
wasn't
at least
to
act
get
like
you.
it. Yeah, at least act like a hard butt. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm a hard ass. I do what I gotta do. And I tried that, and you know what? It didn't make any sense because I was going against the authentic grain. I wasn't being me. I was being non-authentic. And guess what? You can see through non-authentic. Some people thought it was sweet because they thought I was, I was a young kid. And people would take me under their wing and they were my friend and they loved me. But I had some friends that just said, hey, drop the act. I mean, we're not buying into it. And it's fine because we understand that you don't want to be taken advantage of it all, but we're not here to do that. And there were people that do that, but, all in all, I made sure to stick with people that didn't. So when we return, we're going to be talking more about Ground Hog Day and how certain concepts, especially the love quotient, how that actually goes directly with our lives. So stay tuned, because Perspectives with your host, me, Ashley Burgess, will be back in 2 shakes.
I'm ready to fly.
Turn it up and jump in the deep.
This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace. You know when you're really stressed or not feeling so great about your life or about yourself? Talking to someone who understands can really help. But who is that person? How do you find them? Where do you even start? Talkspace. Talkspace makes it easy to get the support you need. With Talkspace, you can go online, answer a few questions about your preferences, and be matched with a therapist. And because you'll meet your therapist online, you don't have to take time off work or arrange childcare. You'll meet on your schedule, wherever you feel most at ease. If you're depressed, stressed, struggling with a relationship, or if you want some counseling for you and your partner, or just need a little extra one-on-one support, Talkspace is here for you. Plus, Talkspace works with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. No insurance? No problem. Now get $80 off of your first month with promo code SPACE80 when you go to Talkspace.com. Match with a licensed therapist today at Talkspace.com. Save $80 with code SPACE80 at Talkspace.com.
Depend on Perspectives with Ashley Burgess. The water's warm and there's a swim-up bar. Glass of perspective, anyone? Now, here's Ashley.
Sweet vermouth, rocks with a twist, please.
For you, miss?
The same. That's my favorite drink.
Mine, too. It always makes me think of Rome. The way the sun hits the buildings in the afternoon.
Well, what should we drink to?
I like to say a prayer and drink to world peace.
To world peace.
World peace.
Welcome back live to Perspectives, and I'm your host, Ashley Burgess. Tonight we're talking about a film that I love, The Groundhog Day. I recently saw it on Groundhog Day, and again, just another reason to see it, quite honestly.
So you saw Groundhog Day on Groundhog Day.
Groundhog Day.
It kind of flows together like that.
I loved it.
Yeah.
I didn't get to see the actual, newscast where they took, Punxsutawney Phil out and he
Oh,
saw
you
a
didn't
shadow.
see that?
No, I just read it. I read it online. And so I got to go see,
you
should
go YouTube the video.
The reenactment.
You should go YouTube the video.
Oh, was it cute?
Yeah.
Is it cute?
And also, here's a bit of a sidebar because a lot of places around the country do reenactments. It's not the Punxsutawney Phil, in Pennsylvania. A lot of places do their own thing, and they do it in New York too. And last year, the mayor of New York, Bill de Blasio, he dropped the groundhog, and accidentally, and the groundhog ended up dying. So they had to do it with the new groundhog this year.
They dropped the groundhog last year?
Yeah, last year.
In Punxsutawney?
No, not the groundhog, not Punxsutawney Phil. I'm talking New York City.
Who drops the groundhog?
The mayor, Mayor de Blasio.
How did he drop the
It
groundhog?
was just an accident. He was trying to put him or hand him off to somebody, and the groundhog tried to got out of his grasp, and ended up and
how far was he from the ground?
I don't know, 3 or 4 feet. But for a small animal, relatively small animal like that, that's enough.
That mayor's not going to carry my dog anywhere.
If you land right on your head,
I'm not going to hand that mayor my dog to hold.
Yeah, no kidding, huh?
Scrape and scratch his way out of there. My God,
yeah.
Poor groundhog.
I know, yeah.
He's in groundhog heaven now.
He is in groundhog heaven, yeah. So they got a new groundhog in New York this year.
Really?
But
What's
yes.
his name?
Heck if I know.
Al.
Groundhog Vinny, So, I don't know. Yeah, hey, yo, Vinny.
Yo. How you doing?
I'll make you an offer you can't refuse.
How you doing?
That's my best Brooklyn accent, so,
Not bad. I like it. Not bad. It's got a certain ring to it, a certain Brooklyn ring.
I guess. If you say so. People from Brooklyn listen to this are going, yeah, I'm going to punch you if I ever meet you.
Okay, if anybody wants to punch Bill right now, go online at Twitter or Facebook and say how much you want to punch him. We're on Ashley Burgess, or we're on Perspectives with Ashley Burgess on Facebook. We got about 77,000 and change followers. You'd like to increase that. Get on there. Follow us and tell us what you're really thinking.
And probably 1 or 2 of you from Brooklyn, and you want to punch me right now. So
don't defriend us.
Yeah, just punch me. That's
we'll make it up to you. We'll do one of those things where Bill gets in okay, what is that? Where they put you on this little thing in the water tank, and you have to sit on that deal.
Oh yeah, throw the ball, and
you take the big softball or whatever.
Actually, I did that once upon a time.
And you hit that big red button.
Yeah.
And you go right. The dunking is
the dunk tank.
The dunk tank.
Yeah.
We'll get one of those in the summertime. We'll put it out by the studio. That's a good idea. Let's do that.
And
I love that idea.
You guys come down from Brooklyn, and
I'll do it too.
You'll be first in line. I know you will.
No. I mean, I'll get in the. I'll do.
Oh, you'll be in the tank. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I
figured you'd be first in line to dunk me. Knowing you.
That wouldn't be any fun though. That would only be fun in wintertime, and we don't have summertime. It's just fun. We'll have to do that for the kids.
Okay.
Our kids are probably in their 20s and 30s here that are listening tonight. So
I'm willing.
Let's do it. I like that idea. Let's do it. That'd be fun. So we're going to have a dunk tank, and anybody else that wants to participate is willing to. We'll do that this summer. So let's talk about this film in the context of the love quotient. And I think it's interesting that people don't really understand what love is. And I know a lot of people out there listening goes, I know what love is. Well, I'm sure some people do, but I'm talking about what real love is, not this manufactured love. Not confusing real love with a person who cares for you, and not confusing real love with sex, as well as not confusing love with somebody that you're manipulating.
Well, also not confusing romantic love with fraternal love or platonic love.
But I think that you can actually love people with this altruistic love. I mean, like, Bill, you and I love each other.
Yeah, platonic. But that's what I mean, platonic.
But there's a love. I think that there's this overall love for the universe, for people in it. And I think that's what Bill Murray's character starts realizing as he's bettering himself, as he's learning how to play piano, as he's learning how to ice sculpt, as he's reading and learning poetry and just doing all this great stuff to better himself. He starts loving altruistically other people. And I think that's what's so important. And I think a lot of times people don't realize when somebody loves them altruistically or loves them, people get that confused. You're right.
Yes.
With a romantic type.
You can go on to previous episodes on Spreaker or iTunes or AshleyBurgess.com. Spreaker.
iTunes.
The English language is not an adequate language to express the concept of love, or should I say the different concepts of love.
Mi amor.
Yeah. Okay. Does Greg know about this?
What does mi amor mean? I love you?
Yeah. Yes.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, mi amor. But see, in a lot of the romance languages, amor, the word amo or amor is more, kind of romantic.
Oh.
Different most other languages, in fact, have different words for different types of love.
So is there one that says, I so like you, okay, but you're all good?
Like in Spanish, for example, me gusto.
Okay, means, and then what about, I love you, but I'm not going to sleep with you?
Well, and yeah, I mean, and that would be kind of like, me encanto,
What about, I love you, we slept together, but we did it only once?
Well, that one would be me amo, but, we're
going to write a new dictionary, guys.
Because that one you can't hardly get around. But
Bill and I are writing a new dictionary on love here soon.
By the way, and Greg, this is just examples she's using, so.
It's all examples.
It's all examples.
This is
hypothetical.
Scientific, hypothetical situations, guys. I mean, come on, but it is pretty funny.
But your point is right, though, Ashley. We use the word love, in like the word has been devalued almost. Don't you think?
Well, I just think that a lot of times love is only thought of in a romantic, sexual way, and I think that's so off. And I think that that's what puts people off in the fact that they don't understand what love is because they only think of it as sexual or romantic. And that's my only issue with it, is that I think that first and foremost, love, the love of humanity, the love of ourself, the love of mankind, the love for animals, I think that trumps the sexual romantic love. And I think that other stuff is a byproduct, and that's great, and that's fine. But I do think that if people understand the meaning of life and why we're here and what we're here to experience, they would get the fact that you will love almost every single person you come into contact in an altruistic love. And I do, and I have a tendency of sometimes finding myself around people that are confused because I get messages all the time, all over the world.
Oh, gosh. You need to hire somebody full-time just to read through your Facebook messages.
They would end up writing a book.
Yeah.
And then I'd have to sue them for, no, I'm just kidding. They would end up writing a book on all the stuff that they have in there because I have people that sit there and say, I love you. And I'm the first one to say, I love you too. And I automatically think it's got to be some sort of altruistic thing because my deal is that if you text me on Facebook or you private message me on Twitter or Instagram and you say, I love you, and you've never met me before, I know that's either admiration, respect, or general love, okay? But that's normally not what it is. And so I put my foot in my mouth. Well, no, I don't. I do the right thing by saying, I love you too. And then all of a sudden, it's like the floodgates open.
you
Where
just
do
open
you
the door.
live, and how can I find you?
Yeah.
And you're like, no,
All of a sudden,
wait.
you're their best friend.
I was talking about love in an altruistic way, like love of humanity. And then all of a sudden, you got this whole thing. So I get that most people don't understand that you can be loved by people that you don't have sex with. You can be loved by people that you don't want to have sex with. You can be loved by people that don't want to have sex with you. I mean, that's what love is. And I think, Bill Murray's character, ends up finding respect and altruistically loving the old man that he helps. He loves the people in Punxsutawney. And he loves them despite everything he thought about before, but he loves them because he gets to know them on a certain deep level. And I know for a fact that once you get to know people on a certain level and you see things about them that are great, you gotta love them. So stay tuned. When we return, we're going to be talking more about Punxsutawney Phil. We're going to be talking about more about Bill Murray's character and how it relates, as well as we're going to also talk about our need to win. So stay tuned, because Perspectives with your host, me, Ashley Burgess, will be back in 2 shakes.
This is Jake Busey, and you're listening to Perspectives with Ashley Burgess.
Welcome back live to Perspectives, and I'm your host, Ashley Burgess, and we're talking tonight about Ground Hog Day, a film close to my heart. I know Bill hasn't seen it, but Bill's actually going to run home after this and see it.
Like, I brought my running shoes. I'm literally running.
He's going to sprint, The stairs aren't working. Stairs aren't working.
Right.
So we're talking about, earlier before the break, we were talking about the love quotient, and I do feel like a lot of people don't realize what altruistic love is, and honestly, it's just so important because I love almost everybody. I mean, even the people that are just, they're just so obtuse. I
You
still
may not
love
like them at the moment very much.
I still love them.
Yeah.
I mean, I find love, and a lot of people say, like, how can you love an ex-boyfriend? How can you love somebody that wronged you? And it's like, there was a time when they were the center of my universe. And anybody that's ever been in the center of your universe, you got to still love them. And people do fall out of grace here and there in our thought processes. But to me, I mean, I think that a lot of times we actually misconstrue dislike and hate and love and hate. And hate to me is just, that's just part of fear. And that's just something that doesn't.
It's a very strong word, isn't it?
It doesn't get me anywhere.
But, and just as a quick sidebar, don't we use the word hate as casually?
My gosh.
As we use the word love now.
As
it's
casual as we use the F-bomb.
We even use the word hater. Oh, he's a hater. She's a hater.
The F-bomb and hate.
Just because, like, it's gotten to the point now where, let's say that someone just disagrees with an idea of yours. Oh, he's a hater. Stop hating.
And it's just like, dude, you're not hating. I mean,
Yeah.
like, I don't know what you're doing, but you're not hating.
Hate is a very strong word.
Hating, I just don't like the word because I just don't hate. I just don't hate anything. I mean, even people that do awful things, I don't like them, and I would really like, somebody to figure it out and educate them. But I don't have time for hate, because hate actually takes energy from you. And hate actually takes away from you. And the more hate and the more angry we feel, the more angry we are about everything in our life. And there were times in my life in the past, and I'm sure people listening can understand. My dad and I didn't see eye to eye for many years. And I never hated him, but I was angry. There was a lot of anger there. And there was a lot of anger.
Just recently.
Yeah. But the anger, not so much. But it was more like, come on, let's not play that game, but in the past there was some anger, especially when, you told me to F you on the phone and all that kind of stuff. Not cool.
No bueno.
Not cool. However, that anger permeated every part of my life. Not even if it was at the surface, but you would act from it, from a certain disjointed perception or perspective based with that anger. Just like anybody that's listening tonight that's had maybe somebody steal from them.
Yeah.
And the anger you feel toward that person because they stole money or they stole a family heirloom.
Possessions.
Whatever. And you feel so angry because they've taken from you. But yet, the sad thing is that until we accept this, forgive it, and try to let go of this anger, anger stays with us and it tears us apart. Hate tears you apart.
Ashley, as Yoda tonight, anger leads to hate. Hate leads to pain and destruction. You have to do it in your Yoda voice. You can do
hate
that.
leads to pain and destruction. No, I got to do it again. Hate leads.
Yeah, there you go. Clear your throat.
Hairball.
Right.
There's a hairball in space here. Hate leads to destruction. I'm kind of off, though.
I was going to say, yeah. Well, you got allergy problems tonight.
My allergies. Yeah, that's the problem. I use the neti pot, too. So, I don't know if anybody's ever used that neti pot out there. It's the one you put the water in. It's like a pot, and you turn your head up, and you pour the water up into your nostrils, and then you do it over and over again on one side, and then you do it on the other passage again. Woo, it's like Chinese water torture. But anyway, you get a lot of that water in there, so that's why I'm a little
or
off.
waterboarding, yeah.
My poor Yoda sound is off today.
In other words, you willingly waterboarded yourself.
Yes, I'm more Fran Dresser tonight.
Oh, my gosh.
I am.
Yep,
Mr. Sheffield. Oh, come on, Bill. Oh, come on.
That is really nasal, yes.
Oh, come on, Bill. Can't you do that? He's like, oh, I'm not Yoda anymore.
You're Fran, yeah.
I'm Fran. No, she's great. I like her. She's cool. No, but, we're talking about now. Let's talk about winning. Because I think a lot of times we have that need to win, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
The need to win. I'm a winner.
You got to be Vince Lombardi. Winning isn't everything. It's the only thing.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
At all costs.
At all costs.
We will win, doggone it.
And, and you could make a credible argument that's a large reason for some of the problems in our society is the fact that some people are willing to win at all costs.
They are.
To the point where you just sell your soul.
They are.
And just lie, cheat, steal, whatever it is you have to do. And some human beings all around the world are that way, which is a shame. And so talk about, trying to let go of your anger. If you get screwed over by somebody who basically cheated to win at whatever, I mean, I'm not even talking about games. I mean, cheated you out of promotion, for example, cheated you out of a significant other.
Right.
Whatever it may be, it would be really hard to not be angry at that person.
Oh, yeah. You have to have a lot of self-restraint, and you have to be very conscious to not want to take their head off, But, I was thinking when you were talking about how winning at all costs, a person that devotes their entire life to winning at all costs, no matter what, to me reminds me of a sex addict. Anybody that has ever known a sex addict knows what I'm talking about. I mean, winning at all costs is the same as a sex addict because a sex addict, they go and have sex all the time. They'll make eye contact with the waitress at the restaurant and turn around and have sex with them and then turn around and have sex with whoever they see at the office. You don't understand? Like, this is a nonstop thing. There's been several movies made on this too, and I know personally a few people that have gone through therapy for this. However,
I was going to say, I mean, don't laugh. I mean, this is a real,
disease,
and it destroys lives.
It does, and the sad thing about it is it's not even the act. It's about like the catch, winning. It's almost like capturing. It's almost like an animal capturing its dinner.
Yeah, the chase is better than the catch.
Yeah, and then they do it over and over and over and over and over again, and it's never giving them what they want. It's almost like they're on autopilot. And it's really weird because it's almost like this. I mean, I'm not saying that this is the case, but it's almost like the addict where you feel like the soul's not really there right then.
Yeah.
And they're just on autopilot and it's like their eyes look kind of glazy. And it's almost like they're on a hunt, like they're hunting for prey. And they're never happy and it tears them apart. Which is the wild scenario, and that's what kind of reminds me of people that are winning at all costs. And in that situation, try to have that person seek help because it's not going to get any better. It's if they were an alcoholic, there's not enough alcohol they could drink. Okay, it's the well's going to dry up and they'll die before because they're not. It's hard for them to get help because they've made this an addiction. Like it's in its own thing. This would take a show of its own. And we'll do a show on sex addiction here in the future.
Yeah.
But when we're talking about winning at all costs, it misses the point. There's a thing about honesty, truth, being authentic, letting the ego go by the wayside. And when we're able to stop taking orders from high Mr. Ego or Mrs. Ego, we stop needing the demand to win. And a lot of times we can step back and see relationships and situations for the depth that they provide us instead of the catch and release that a lot of times people do.
Okay.
And I think it's interesting that in this film we see a little bit of that, the need to win, and eventually when he's able to realize that life's not about winning and losing, it's just being in life. You can't lose.
It's the journey.
It's the journey. That's what it is. And when you realize that it's not about winning, and you realize it's not, if you're in the journey, you're not losing. Nobody loses if they actually stay in the game of life. You're not losing. You're participating. As long as you participate, you're not losing. You're winning. And so when we return, we're going to be talking a little bit about how, if we look at our condition and authentically understand and fully engage, how awesome our life will be. So stay tuned, because Perspectives with your host, me, Ashley Burgess, will be back in 2 shakes.
I could lift you up. I could show you what you want to see and take you where you want to be.
Get in here and give us your perspective. We're listening. You're listening to Perspectives with Ashley Burgess.
When Chekhov saw the long winter, he saw a winter bleak and dark and bereft of hope. Yet we know that winter is just another step in the cycle of life. But standing here among the people of Punxsutawney and basking in the warmth of their hearths and hearts, I couldn't imagine a better fate than a long and lustrous winter. From Punxsutawney, it's Phil Connors. So long. Nice speech, Phil. Very nice.
Thank you.
Thanks. How was that for you two?
Hey, man. You touched me.
Thanks, Larry.
Thank you.
I gotta go, okay?
Phil, that was surprising. I didn't know you were so versatile.
I surprise myself sometimes.
Well, where are you going? Would you like to get a cup of coffee?
I'd love to. Can I have a rain check? I've got some errands I've got to run, okay?
Phil, errands? What errands?
Welcome back live to Perspectives, and I'm your host, Ashley Burgess. Tonight we've been talking about one of my favorite films, Ground Hog Day. Oh, man, I love that film, and how it really mimics our life. You know, and I think we've come to this point where we come to the pinnacle part of what the issue is tonight.
The penultimate issue.
The penultimate. I like that. The pinup. The pinup.
The pinup and the pinup, yes.
And the pinup. Well, the girls will be here in a little while, but...
Hey, can't wait.
Yay!
Now I just perked up.
Are you still feeling delirious, Bill?
I just woke up.
Yay! Groundhog Day. What if we had that day every day?
Oh, I'm telling you. Then I wouldn't want the movie to end.
You'd be smiles ear to ear.
I wouldn't be learning any lessons.
You'd be like, uh-huh. Yeah, okay, Ashley. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, last but not least is to come to terms with the human condition, our human condition, and to authentically and fully engage. And to me, that begins with understanding our truth about how we have to sometimes pull ourselves up by our bootstraps, save ourselves, because once we realize we have the power to help other people, we realize that we can't ignore our personal power any longer. Okay? That's how it works. So once you realize and recognize that you have this power, you can't just overlook it. It's kind of like the concept of knowing what's right and trying to go against it once you find out what's right. Kind of hurts. You know?
Yeah.
You can try, but you kind of feel weird about it. You go, I know it's not right,
but that would mean, kind of going back to last segment, it would mean admitting defeat in a way. Only it's not defeat, but I think that's how a lot of people think of it. It's like, oh, you're right, and so you win, I lose. It's all zero-sum game, and that's not really what it's about. But that's how most people think of it.
It's about the journey.
Yeah.
It's about living. And I saw somebody the other day said, oh, there's always winners and losers. Well, I don't think there's any losers if if you actually fully engage in your life, you can't be a loser. It's just not that way. I mean, we talked about timing and stuff like that on other shows, and sometimes it's just not the right time for things. But it happens when it's supposed to happen. We pull ourselves up from our bootstraps. And I think it was interesting in the film, Rita, the producer, makes a comment. She goes, Phil, maybe it's really not a curse. It depends on how you look at it. And he's like, man, I love you. You're a really upbeat lady. and I think it was interesting, though. She said, Phil, maybe it's not a curse. Maybe it depends on how you look at it. And that's what this show is about. It's about perspectives. It's about how you look at life, how you deal with it, and how you act from it. How do you fully engage? And if you fully engage by realizing that it's not a curse, this life is not a curse. Okay? A lot of people think that we were put here to just get eaten by ravaging beasts. People think, oh, well, I'm surrounded by sharks all my life. This is how it is. We were put here to be successful. It wasn't like a set-up doomsday deal, okay? We were put here to be successful. And a lot of times you have to look and see, well, how are you truly thinking in your mind, and how are you equating that to action? And I think it begins with us dealing with this concept on a daily basis. And to better ourselves on a daily basis. If you look at the film and you look at Bill Murray's, his part that he plays, is that eventually when he has the come to Jesus conversation and he realizes there's more to life than just him, and he helps another person, try to live, and he has compassion, and he feels love for somebody, and then that person dies, and he begins to better himself. He starts learning piano and ice sculpting and learning different languages.
Poetry and all the good stuff.
Poetry, and he starts bettering himself, as well as putting himself out there, helping people, getting to know people around him. No man is an island. And every man that has become an island is normally some crazy shooter.
We are not the gods of our own little mini universes.
We're not. We're not, and there's no reason to be. I mean, because it makes life not much fun. I mean, quite honestly, if I go to a carnival, I want to have more people than just me there. Okay? Otherwise, why do I go to a carnival? Why don't I sit on my couch? The world is not just about you, and I would hate it just to be that way, because that would be kind of awful. It would just be you in some sort of hell. Some sort of, personally conceived, own personal hell.
Yeah.
Where you're the master of ceremonies and nobody else is there.
Here's the thing, Ashley. Have you ever read John Milton?
Sure.
One of his most famous works is, oh gosh, it's on the tip of my tongue. I'm having a brain fart here. Anyway, it's
Phil's actually become quite delusional in the last few minutes.
I know, well, I probably am in a constant state of delusion, but that's a whole nother show for another time.
Oh, my pretty.
So, anyway, one of his most famous works is about how Lucifer, or Satan, if you will, was cast out of heaven and into hell, and so. The most famous line from that story is, how Satan was saying, I'd rather rule in hell than serve in heaven. And, that's entered, kind of the English language lexicon as somebody who's just, would rather be...
Burn in the fires of hell.
It would rather be, be narcissistic and have everything revolve around him or her rather than live a good life. So that's kind of the image I had in mind when you're reading all that is that, Bill Murray's character, Phil, started out, so he'd rather rule in hell than serve in heaven.
Well, and that's also a concept for our own life, and that's what I was getting at. That's a good concept, is that when we do live in the ego and we live in the mind and we live on our own, we live in hell. It's a hell that we've created. We all create our own personal hell.
Paradise Lost, by the way.
Paradise Lost.
Thank you, Google. So, yeah, Paradise Lost, one of the classics of English literature.
No, it's wonderful. It's great. And I think that when we attend to our responsibilities, with other people that we have, and we take care of people, and we understand compassion, and we feel emotional and love for other people, it really equates to something much larger than us, much bigger than us. And this bigger force kind of propels us into a situation where we're in the right place at the right time. It's not narcissistic thought anymore. It's not how we began this film of a narcissistic meteorologist, Phil Connors, and his strive to be in a better market and his manipulation of other people. I mean, because sometimes that's the lowest basis of life. Manipulating people is one of the lowest rungs of life, okay?
Yep.
It's easily done with little gratification. The gratification you get from that, come on. I mean, it's sick.
It's fleeting.
It's sick. It's not, what good does it do? I mean, so you manipulate
just
people.
satisfies your own ego.
Your own massive ego. For what reason, you know? I mean, yeah, okay, you beat them or you manipulated them into something, but I mean, like, to me, it's a coward. To me, that's a coward type thing, and it's like it's like the lowest rung of rungs, you know, like a criminal that, you know, and like a manipulator. I don't know. It's like those card games where they are able to take cards from different places. You know, they pawn one and one's up the sleeve, and where did this one go? And this one's over here, and it's just like a lot of magic tricks that go nowhere. And in life, this film, Groundhog Day, really pronounced the fact of the understanding, the enlightenment, and the true reason why we're here is to live the venture, to be ourselves, to love with no strings attached. And so if I say anything today, it's I got you, babe. No, I'm just kidding. I got you, babe.
I got you.
And we're glad to have y'all listening because, you know, we write these shows and we make these for y'all. And the whole creation of this Perspectives is based on helping people to live happier, healthier lives. Helping you to live the journey that you're supposed to live, the one that you've chosen. It's about living your true life, not anything else. It's about being authentic, taking that journey. Bill, it was a great show tonight.
A wonderful show. And, you know, I got to go see this movie now.
We'll watch it together.
That sounds like a plan.
Let's do it. Movie night. Movie night.
We can double date.
Yeah, we'll do it. We'll get a bunch of people together. We should get some more listeners together, too. That'd be fun, right?
Yeah, so Facebook and Twitter, sign up if you want to watch the movie with us.
I'll create an event.
There you go.
That'll be fun.
That'll be fun.
And some of y'all can watch a simulcast with us. We'll figure that out. I know you might be far, but we still want to include you. So stay tuned. We have a great show for you next. Perspectives with your host, me, Ashley Burgess. We'll be back this time in 3 shakes.